Hello gamers, welcome to another different kind of video. I have just finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth the other day, and I got thoughts. When they announced this game, I really wasn't sure if I was gonna buy it or play it. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I dropped Remake at that point at the Hell House fight, and then ended up caving and buying the game because I'm too Tifa simped to walk away, obviously. And I made it to like the first chapter or so. I made it to the Nibelheim flashback, and at that point, I was like, you know what? I should go back and just play Remake and beat it, and do what I need to finish it. So I did that. I did the Integrate DLC, and then I did the video about that. So you know my whole opinion on 7 Remake and the DLC. So when I finally was able to go back into Rebirth, I did kind of feel like Rebirth did fix a lot of my issues I had with 7, in the sense that I like the gameplay a lot more. I think I've seen some people say that the open world was too bland or they didn't like it that much, and I don't think it's the open world itself that's the problem with Rebirth. I do think that the activities you can do is very like standard, like, oh, here's a tower, oh, here's like a special boss fight you can do, and that kind of stuff, and that does feel very typical and generic. But I do like that you can explore a world, you can do side missions, and I think that is an interesting aspect of the open world where it kind of feels more engaging. So I was more into the gameplay loop this time around than I was in Remake just felt like you're just going down a corridor, which aided in the feeling of, I just want to get to the next piece. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next thing. And with this, it's I did want to go to the main story because I kind of just focus on that, but it also just makes it a little more like refreshing, and it also makes it so that if a mission is too hard, I can actually like do some side missions. I can grind some experience, so it's not impossible to grind. I feel like Remake did not have a lot of openness to it, so I just felt like I never was underleveled in the Remake, but it was just like there's really nothing else to do, at least from what I remember. But Rebirth, I at least felt like I could actually do more stuff. The only thing I will say that is just one of the worst designs in this game was the chocobo shit. I don't want to do mini games to get a chocobo. Like, sometimes I would do it because it's like, okay, I need a chocobo to do this one side mission. Okay, I guess I have to do this. But then other times it's like I don't care. And then like they give you a car, and it's like I like the car more than the chocobo. Can we just do the car? No, it's only in this one area you get to use it. So I don't like how they used transportation in this game. It just seems like I don't want to do mini games for chocobos. The car's only in one area, so I guess I'm just walking or fast traveling. So it's just like, just give me the chocobo. It's like the same issue I had with Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like I don't want to bother with, oh, you gotta sneak up on the horse. Oh, the horse ran away. Oh, you don't have a horse. Oh, the horse you do have sucks. It's like, oh, okay. So I that kind of stuff I'm not too keen on. But at least with this, it's like, okay, at least with Zelda, it's like you can just do it. You can easily just find horses. But it's just that sometimes I just feel like, okay, I'll just walk. I don't know. Like I just don't want to deal with this. It is more annoying in Final Fantasy VII in the sense that I don't want to be doing mini games that are just frustrating to deal with or finicky. I just don't like that. And it always stands to reason, any game that's not based in stealth, that forces you to do stealth, is always not fun. And most of the chocobo stuff is just that, and it's just like I don't want to do this. So that's what I didn't like about that. And this game still does the unskippable combat cutscenes. Like, again, the first time you see it, it's like, oh, cool. Then, like, if you keep dying, you're gonna have to see it over and over, and it's just like, I can't deal with this. And it's even worse by the final boss. The final boss fight, I think, I know I get what they're going for with it. Like, oh, they want this to be this big, epic, climactic fight, but it's just like, man, some of these fights seem bullshit, and you could have just removed them or just done other things with it. Like I just felt like it was too many phases for what it was doing. Like, and I kind of liked how it handled it in remake, at least from what I remember. Again, I think it's like you are on the top of the mansion or whatever. You fight the Genova Dream guy, whatever, and then like you go through like it's like there's at least like stuff in between that made it more like, okay, I can actually like get ready. I think the last bracket of that of it might could have been a little tedious, but it's worse than this, where it just was like I kept dying, and then it's like I have to watch the cutscene again, and then when I was initially trying to beat this game, I tried to beat this game on Tuesday, and I had to go somewhere like at like 4:30 or whatever. I had to go somewhere, so it's like, okay, I can finish this if I just start, and it's like I play on normal difficulty. I kept dying, and it's like, okay, well, I don't have any time. I need to leave. And I'm like, I think after the phase I was on, I had one more phase to do, and then that would be it. And it's like, I don't have time, and I never like leaving my console on or suspending a game. I know I could like suspend Final Fantasy 7 then put the PlayStation in rest mode or whatever. I just don't want to do that. I never like doing that. It's just I always feel like you're just gonna be you're gonna be taxing the system. So I never want to do that. And it's like, okay, like I guess and I was like, I'm gonna have to do the whole fight again and watch all those cutscenes over and over. I mean, the only thing was like, at least, I can, there's like a rest stop and a store, so I can at least like stock up on healing items and all that stuff. But it's like I don't it was just like I have to do this whole thing again. And it was just kind of like bumming me out, and it got really to the point where it's like, should I just drop this? Like this fight isn't fun. I don't like I've said this with the remake, and I said it with, and it's so true with this as well. I still don't know what to make of the combat. Uh, I understand the idea. Like they want the ATB to be like the turn based system, and then like the hack and slash stuff you're doing in between is just like the in between of the menu commands and all that stuff, which I understand, and that's like fine. But when you have an enemy or a boss fight that can just do a move that knocks your HP down to 1 HP and then you have to scurry to heal, it's just not fun in that context, because as I'm like selecting heal, there's been so many times where it's like, okay, use the mist high potion, and as he's doing the animation, the party dies, and it's like I have to do the whole phase again, and that just it was just like I had ATB meter specifically for this. I was doing the thing, and then I die anyway. It's like, then why? Like in a turn-based combat system, in a turn-based game like Persona or just classic Final Fantasy, the boss can wipe you out to 1 HP, but then but you have a whole turn to actually heal, and you're allowed to heal. So like, you're able to do that easily. In Remake, it was just like, and Rebirth, it's like, I need the ATB meter, and then I also have to hope that I can actually do the animation in time. Otherwise, game over. And that kept happening during that portion before I had to leave. And it's like, I guess I have to start the whole fight over. And I guess at this point, I think I didn't have a lot of missed mega potions or missed potions to begin with. So it's like, okay, well, at least I can like at least see if I could craft any more. So whatever, I'll try again on normal the next day, and I'll just try this whole phase again. So I tried that, and then I come back the next day, and it's like, I don't like this fight. I was just kind of I was kind of burned out. It was like I start the first attempt on normal the next day, and it's like, you know, it kind of hit me when you're Cloud and you're walking through to get to Aerith, and then you have to like press R2, L2, and you have to do the slow walk, and it's like that was lame. I wish I could skip that, but of course you can't. And then it's like, okay, and then as I was doing that, I was like, I don't want to do this. If I have to like I don't want to bother, like, because you deplete your items all the way through. And I was just thinking at this point, it's like, what if I get to the phase I was on and I don't have enough healing items? And then that was just like, then I would have to really try to like do whatever. It's like, so, whatever. I tried doing it, and it's like, I died once, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, it just really soured me, and I just didn't have the energy to even try. So I was like, I'll just bump it down to easy and just like beat it. Like it was really depressing. It was a very depressing mindset, because it's just like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, but it's well, maybe if I like the game enough, I'll go back and I'll try to beat on normal again, or do even on hard or whatever. But it's just like, I don't want it. I just lost interest. It was just, I never like, and to me, like, I never really was about lowering the difficulty in certain playthroughs, or like, oh, I'm doing this, whatever. I never did that. I always wanted to be on the difficulty I choose. But with this, it was just, there was another fight even before that. I was like, I don't want to fucking deal with this. It was when you're Kate Sith and you're in like the man or whatever the fuck, and you have this like weird, like, it's not a boss fight, but it acts like it is. And I hated it. I hated Kate Sith's moves. I didn't like playing him in any meaningful way. Like, he's good as a party member, but when you're just Kate Sith, it's just like, I don't want to, I like that just that it was bumming me out. Like, there's all these other enemies that shouldn't be like a problem, but it was just, they were all tanking everything I was doing. It's like, I fuck this character. I just want to get through this, so I bumped that down to easy. And that was just kind of like, yeah, fuck this. It was just frustrating, and that was a frustrating, like, I'm lowering the difficulty. Fuck this part. And then I would go on and play it on normal. And then there was this one part in the Golden Saucer. I think this is the second time you go back to the Golden Saucer. And this fight pissed me off. This one got me a little bit tilted, because it was the Rude and Elaine fight. The first phase of that, when you're just fighting them, great. That was a fun fight. That part, I was like, okay, I kind of fucking am in a flow with this combat system. I'm kind of getting it. I'm actually like staggering them. I'm actually like interrupting their move. I'm doing all this stuff, and it was like really, really sweet. It was a fun fight, and I was like, focusing on one. Then I was like, oh, I'll do the other one or whatever. I had an energy going. And then after that fight, you fight Rufus. I hated Rufus in Remake. I think that was the fight that I also lowered in Remake, because I hated that fight with a passion. It made me mad. And then I played Rufus in this, and it's like, I hate this character. I hate this fight. Not the character, actually. The character story-wise, whatever. Boss fight-wise, I hated it. It's just not fun. Like, the whole time when I was playing Rebirth, from start to finish, the whole time, every time Rufus showed up, it's like, I don't want to fight this guy. Can he die? Can they fucking throw him off a cliff, and then it's like, oh, he's gone? Can he please die? Just in the story. I don't want to see this guy. I don't want to fight him, because the fight's not fun. And then you fight him, and it's like, and you fight him one-on-one, then I'm just thinking, it's like, yeah, his dog doesn't come in the second phase or whatever the fuck. And then dog shows up, and it's like, this character is the most aggravating character. I don't like fighting him, because when I was reading, like, at this point, I just wanted to read a guide. It's like, how do you get around what Rufus fucking does? And it's like, just wait for an opening, and then, like, I mean, I don't remember what the tip was, but it's like, okay, this is the tip I got. Okay, I'm just gonna lower it. Fuck it. Like, it was some dumb tip that's like, yeah, of course. It's like, oh, just heal. Oh, just wait until he reloads. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know the reloading is an opening, but it's like sometimes he just kind of zones you successfully and you can't make it in time, and then you get hit again because he counters you. It's like, that shit is just annoying. So that part was like, okay, I know it's the reload animation. That's what it was. It was like, oh, attack him when he's reloaded. It's like, yeah, I know that, but it's like, is there a thing that I could do when he counters me or whatever? Because half the time I see him reloading, I go in to hit, then like he just counters because it's just at the end of it. It's like, okay, what can I do? And it's made worse with the fucking dog being thrown in. So uh that I lowered it because it's like, fuck Rufus, and that did piss me off as well, because since in between Rude and Elaine fight and Rufus, there's no like rest in between. Uh and when I had to lower the difficulty, I had to also fight Rude and Elaine fight on easy, which wasn't fun because that was too easy. Like it's funny that like the Elaine Rude fight and the Rufus fight being back to back highlights why I think this difficulty setting is whack, because easy is like, okay, they're dumb and they don't know what to do. Okay, like, and normal it's like you either get competent fights that are fun and challenging, or you get bullshit like Rufus and just and the Sephiroth final boss. It's like, this is dumb. I don't want easy, like, the Ruin Elaine fight was fine. It was a fine fight. It's just I think Rufus is just a bullshit character, gameplay wise. I don't care when people say, oh, Theo, you suck. Sure, I suck, but the fight sucks, okay? But so yeah, that was like the first time. But this was just like with the final boss, it's like I just don't want to do all these phases, so I'll just do it on easy. Like, fuck it, and then I beat it. And it's like, the Sephiroth fights in that boss fight, like when you're Zack and Cloud going against Sephiroth, or Cloud and Aerith going against Sephiroth, those are good fights. When you're fighting the monstrosity things, it's just like, this is fine, but I kind of wish that this was like, those should have been their own fight, and then there's like a break in between, and then you go to Sephiroth. Like, it should have been something like that. Not this. This just seemed kind of like, what would be cool, and it was just like, it was just ridiculous. I just didn't like it. And then like there was a part where Kate Sith leaves her party. Now, I think the game completely unequips the gems you gave him. I might be wrong, but I do think I gave him gems before he left the party. And so when I made it to the final boss, and I was like, okay, Kizet should use like heal or lightning or whatever, he had no spells. And I was like, did the game unequip everything for him except for the weapon? Like, why unequip everything? But like, I was so confused. And I was like, okay, so that was the other thing I had to change when I tried to beat the game again. So okay, I should give him some gems. But that was, materia, excuse me, not gems, materia. But yeah, it was just like, that boss fight was just ridiculous. So I still feel conflicted with the combat system. It was only slightly better this time around than the first game. It's a little bit more quicker. I do like it feels a little bit more satisfying, and I was more engaging with the abilities and the spells this time around, because the other one I was so dedicated to hacking and slashing that I didn't give a fuck. This time around it's like, okay, I know I can use abilities, I know I can use spells, I should just focus on that, use assess, all that kind of stuff. So I at least was more engaged with it, so I kind of like the combat more this time around. The other complaint I have with this game is the upgrade system. I don't like it on multiple levels. So you have a weapon upgrade system, which I kind of don't get it. Like, it sounds weird because you have one menu that's like, okay, weapon upgrade. You go there and it's like, all right, you can put in your like materia slots. And I was like, is that all you can do? like I tried to look up the manual in the game just to see it explain. It's like it didn't explain much. I think it's just like you get more gems the more you upgrade. The more you upgrade your sword, you'll get more slots. But it's like then, but you could do that there. But then you go to the material and equipment menu, and you could also equip it there as well. So it's like, why have this other menu? Like, maybe I'm missing something, but I think like because I know that it, like when you go to the upgrade menu, you can actually tell it to like, oh, focus on offense, balance, or whatever the fuck. But that I think auto equips the gems for you. But it's like I don't want to do that. I want to at least pick what I want to do. But I kind of wish there was more to upgrading these weapons than just inserting gems. Like you get a skill tree in remake, which I think is actually really good in the sense that like you actually get to see what you're upgrading and all this kind of stuff, and you can access it anywhere. This game does another weird thing where you have folios, which is your upgrade skill tree, I guess, in this game, but you only access it at vending machines or shops. Which why? Why do that? Like I don't understand when games do stuff like that because it's like we had all these games that give you the skill tree in the menu, and now it's like no, you have to go to the other place now, and it's like there's no rhyme or reason. Like it's not like in Resident Evil where it's like okay, check the typewriters to save makes sense. It's like okay, you're searching for that, but this is an upgrade thing in an RPG. Like I don't know. I don't quite get why you couldn't do that. You did it in remake, but not this game. Instead, you have to go to a vending machine, and it also felt stingy because it feels like I could only like upgrade like once every like 2 missions or whatever, and you don't. It's so bizarre, and it's like I don't get the system. It just seems like I'm getting more skills at a snail's pace. And maybe it's like, well, you should do more side missions or whatever, but it's like I should be getting enough to at least do meaningful upgrades in the main story. The side, and if I do side stuff, that should get me to like to get more, sure. But it's like there were things I just like. I don't know. The upgrade system seemed really weird, and it's as weird as the gear system. I had the same issue with remake where it's like I feel like there should be more weapons. Like I got Tifa these like gloves that were really good, and then all the gloves I got after that were all trash. And it's like I like the only thing you could say is, well, the magic damage is high, but it's like yeah, but I want something that's either balanced between magic and attack or favoring attack, since she could be racking up ATB and doing meaningful damage attacking. So it's like the magic damage for like characters like Tifa or Cloud seem pointless. Aerith is like okay, I can understand why you want to give her the magic damage stuff more. So it was just like why would I equip these? Like I had gloves that did like 100 something damage, and then like the gloves I got after that was like 70, 60. And it's like why would I want to upgrade to equip this? I mean, this one does way more damage, and it does more whatever. uh I also feel like the party system I kind of liked. It's weird it's 3. I kind of feel like it should be 4. I'm just used to having a 4 party game, but I do like you can actually cycle through them, even though sometimes the game just decides no, you're locked with this party because of story reasons. That's whatever. So gameplay wise, I think Rebirth overall it improves a lot of stuff that I did not like about remake, but I will say a lot of my gripes. I'll say it's mostly me, and it's mostly just the way I play games or whatever. But I do feel like the upgrade system should be a little bit more like, hey, it's in the menu. Fight should be, the difficulty is whatever. But Rufus sucks. I hate fighting him. I'm probably gonna have to fight him again in the next one, and I'll lower it for him for that again too because fuck that fight. Like it was awful. And the final boss fight, it was just also too long, and I think the next one's probably gonna have even more. Uh, so I gameplay wise, I think Rebirth is okay. It's fine. I like the different areas you get to go to. Uh, it also does a lot of forced walking, which I could do without. Uh, I do like the dating mechanic. I do like that they threw that in. I heard it was in the original as well. So this one, so it's kind of cool that it has this. I never really, for some reason, I never think Final Fantasy has that kind of system in it at all. So it's I was like, oh, it has dating, huh? And and at first I thought this was a Rebirth thing. Like, oh, they must add it because like it's a thing in like Persona, Fire Emblem. Okay, like you're just doing that. But then I was like, well, no, they had the golden saucer in the original because I kept hearing about it when this game was coming around. I was like, okay, so I guess whatever. But I got the Tifa date. But this is my other issue, and this is a small one. I don't like the dialogue options that they give you in this game. A lot of the times it's like you like it's too extreme that sometimes like the middle tone sounds like the right one, but it's like no, you're gonna have to either like say this or say fuck off, and it's like okay. But I got Tifa, but they didn't kiss at the Ferris wheel. I was like, what did I do wrong? I did everything correct. I didn't do one side mission, I guess, but it's like I focused on her the most. What more did Tifa want? Like, come on now. Like, we were there, and just they hug and fade to black, and I was just like, this can't be right. No way. Come on. There has to be something else to this. But whatever. At least I got Tifa time. At least. That's the consolation prize. I was afraid it was gonna be, fucking Aerith or Yuffie or whatever. I like Yuffie in this game. I am a little bummed. I mean, she's still a fun character. I still love using her, and she is still kind of OP in some ways, but I liked her more in the DLC in Remake. But because I like that attack that her and Sonon did, where they both just do like these ninja dives. That I just loved seeing, just going over and over and over. It's like I wish I could do that again. I just couldn't get her to do that. But I like her moves. I like her design and all this stuff. But I do want to get into the story of Rebirth a little bit. The story overall, I thought was fine. I think it was a little bit better than Remake. But it does this one thing that was kind of driving me up the wall. So they do the flashback in Nibelheim. It's like, okay, this is really interesting, dark, and like dramatic, and all this stuff is great. I loved every bit of it. Where you see like Sephiroth, I was like, whoa, man, look, this is fucked up. I can't believe this shit. And then he just, loses his mind. Great part. But then, like, later on, like, Tifa tells Aerith, like, yeah, Cloud wasn't there. Like, and I was like, oh, she wasn't there. That's interesting. And then, but she said that she died, but she didn't, obviously. And it's like, huh. And it was just like, I just kept thinking, like, are they gonna they're gonna talk about this by the end? They're gonna do something with this. And then there was all this stuff with Zack was interesting. I was like, oh man, Zack is here. What are we gonna do? I mean, I don't know much about Zack. I just know he was a soldier, and then there's something between him and Cloud or whatever. Okay, interesting to see where this is gonna go. The Zack stuff I'll talk about later, but the Tifa thing, so the whole time I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. What's gonna happen? Because they keep bringing it up, where she keeps trying to kind of get some information from him, saying, what about this guy? That we knew. What about him? What do you think about him? And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, like what's gonna happen? Are they gonna like approach it? And then, but it kept ending where it's like, let's just accept what happened. It's like, huh? Like he was like, oh, so you're testing me? It's like as the viewer, it's like what's going on, and it's like why can't they both just like tell, like why can't she just say, well, Cloud, the thing is, like, you said I died, but like what I remember, you weren't there. Like, and then they could be like, wait a second, what the fuck? And they could like discuss it or whatever, and then like see what's going on. But no, it just never. It it doesn't play enough into the story. Like they kind of like they'll do little things about it. Like they kind of approach it in the reactor where Tifa gets eaten by the weapon monster thing because Cloud pushes her in because Sephiroth told her like don't trust her, she's crazy, kill her. And he's like okay. And that part was like also like intense. I was like okay, so like something's really going on here. She gets swallowed up by the whale thing, and then she sees all these other things, and it's like okay. But again, it's like they don't they don't go anywhere with it, and it's like I'm assuming it's gonna like it's gonna be something that's gonna happen with the third game, but it's like, but I also am afraid they're just gonna it's gonna go nowhere because the thing that also like I don't like about the pacing with this story is it just seems all of the meaningful like plot direction is just loaded into the end, and it's like all the stuff you do to get there, it's just like set up, 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 set up. Okay, worlds merge, worlds come together. You know, worlds. Okay, bye. And it's like, so all of this stuff like you couldn't do anything with. Like, I do feel like you could do a trilogy, but at least have a plot that can be like kind of a thorough line in a game. Like there could have been a plot line that could have just been like, okay, they're doing this and this happens. See you next time or whatever the fuck. Like something. I don't know how to describe it. It just seems like everything that you were doing. I mean, I've seen people say like, oh, all you're doing is going from point A to point B. You're just chasing the road men, and then that's kind of the story. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the problem. Like it just there needed to be something to be resolved, and it just I don't know, like because I feel like in Final Fantasy VII you got the whole game, so of course like you're gonna get to the end and it's gonna be like all wrapped up, like you're just gonna play the whole thing. These are games that are separate and like you have to buy them individually, and it's like I kind of just feel like you don't like the Sephiroth plotline, the stuff that he's doing. That's not gonna be resolved in like remake or rebirth, obviously. But like there needed to be something. Because I still don't know what the roadmen are. Like why do all these soldiers suddenly like have any relation to Sephiroth in some way? Like it's just weird stuff like that, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention to if they did explain it, but it was just like, man, I want to know more about this kind of stuff. And it just seems it feels kind of cheap in the sense that it just seems like we will give you all these questions just so you can be interested in getting the next one. And it's like I don't know. Like again, that whole thing with Tifa and Cloud is so interesting, and it kind of ultimately goes nowhere. There's more closure or more of a direction with Aerith than there is with like anything else that's going on, and that makes sense by the end. I mean, it's like okay, like they do kill her off in this, but it's like okay, like that's that. My other issue is Yuffie. They really it really seemed to me that they just put Yuffie in the game last minute, and they were like, oh fuck, why is she there? Okay, make a DLC that's to remake that's gonna explain why she hates Shinra, and there you go. Okay, because the DLC in remake made Yuffie seem like a very complete character that's like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, I'm like interested in where this character's gonna go. And the only thing that they really do with it is, oh, Wutai is going to war Shinra. Wutai went to the Nibelheim reactor and they all died or whatever. Okay. And then that's kind of it. I mean, it makes sense. Like, okay, I mean, shit's going down. But as a character for Yuffie, like, that's the only thing they really do with her. Everything else, it's like, I just want materia. Materia, man. Oh my god, Materia's over there. I gotta go over there, Materia. And it just was like, man, she was an interesting character in the first game, in the DLC, but here it's just she was just kind of like a sound box, and it's like, so when I see people just say like, I kind of dogged on DSP for like for him being annoyed with Yuffie, and it's like at the beginning of the game of Rebirth, it's like, yeah, like, dude, she's like what, 18 or whatever the fuck, and it's like, okay, and whatever. But when I was playing more of this game, it really just became like, what's going on with this character? It just seems like she doesn't play off of anyone. Like, you have like you have Tifa and Aerith, and obviously they want to double down on their friendship, and which I like, by the way. I think that was like my favorite aspect. I kind of, to a point, as much as I wanted to get that Tifa date, I was like, man, I think it'd be better to see Aerith and Tifa on a date. I think that'd be far more interesting than this Cloud being there. I mean, Cloud's boring. Fuck him. You know what I mean? but whatever. So that was interesting. Barry bounces off of like almost everyone, brilliantly. All Yuffie just has is, I'm young and loud and energetic, and everyone else is older than me. I don't know. It just seemed like a normal man's version of, like, if you ask a normie what they think of anime, Yuffie is what they think of. Like, oh yeah, this loud girl. Then when a guy does something, he's like, oh, you're a pervert. Oh, like all this like nonsense, and it's like, what happened? I kind of was really like disappointed. It's like, man, I like this character, but this game just felt like they didn't know what to do with her, and they just kind of stuck her there. Like, oh yeah, she's like, something dramatic had happened, she's just kind of there. Like, what emotional investment does she have? Like, she has no investment with anyone, it seems. Like, every time that she's talking to someone, it's like, I don't care, I'm gonna get Materia. Oh, let's do some Materia stuff. And she doesn't really like talk to anyone. So when like stuff happens with like Kate Sith or well, Kate Sith, I guess it makes sense because he had the Materia, she wanted that, so okay. But like with Aerith, it's like she doesn't really like talk with them that much or have anything to do with them. The only like thing that she does with them or interacts with them with is she gets motion sickness on transportation, and that's it. That's the only thing that they interact with her with. Like, oh, she's gonna throw up. Oh, there. Like, it's like, that's it. That's all they do with her. So it's like, I don't know. It just kind of bummed me out because I liked Yuffie, and this game just really made me just sit there. It's like, I don't care for Yuffie. Like, I wanted my party, but I don't know. I don't care for her in the story, and then like and then I was also kind of like, I kind of wish there was so they tried to like talk to Rufus, and this part I was like, oh god, we're gonna do a boss fight, and luckily we didn't. This is in Junon, and he was giving them a deal that was too good to be true, in my opinion. It's like, obviously, it's like, oh, we're gonna let you guys go, and don't worry about us because we're busy with other stuff. And it's like, and then Yuffie like try to assassinate Rufus. I wish he succeeded, obviously, and he was like, oh, you tried to kill me? Oh, that's it, man. Fuck off, fuck you. And then he runs away like a bitch. And I was like, okay, like, obviously, Barrett said, like, look, it might have been a good thing that she did that. You don't want to get too cozy with Shinra. It's like, yeah, okay. But they never really talked to her about that. It's like, hey, we were talking to them, and you did this with like, why don't you try to talk to with us first, or whatever the fuck? And they don't do anything with that. They like, it's just because the whole time I was thinking maybe what's gonna happen in this game was that she was going to be so dedicated to getting Materia that somewhere along the way she's going to realize there's more stuff to worry about than just getting Materia. and they don't really do that. And then like she brings up Butai, it's like, so are we gonna do something with that? I mean, I guess it's probably gonna be something that's gonna be in the next game, but it's like, again, it just seemed like they had this character and they just didn't know what to do with her, so they just kind of threw her around in the background because they're like, well, people might want to have her in a party, so just have her there. Like, it was like they put her in the DLC in 7 Remake and was not expecting people to like her at all, and then it was like, oh, I guess we have to add her in Rebirth now. And then they added her in Rebirth. I don't know, she just seemed like a very last minute addition. Like, I feel like if you take Yuffie out, do you really lose anything? Like, because Kate Sith makes sense. You know, he's trying to help you get to whatever. He takes the black material away from you because he's afraid of the curse of the Cetra or whatever. It's like, oh, if you guys go there, you'll never leave, and I didn't want that to happen. Okay. Red 13, you go to his homeland, and you do that trial, which I thought was kind of patty, but whatever. But it also gave you more of a reason to get the black materia and explain what the black materia is. Okay. You know, Tifa, you can't take, you know, whatever. I mean, mainstay character, all this kind of stuff. But what does Yuffie add? And I know that she's like a bonus character in the original, like you could kind of miss her. But if they're gonna have her be a required character, like this is a character you're getting in your party, no matter what, I do think that they should have just gave her more of a impact instead of, well, wait till the third game. It's like, well, you introduced her in Remake, and then you put her in this game. Why should I wait for the third game to get more? You know, to give her a relevance almost. Like, it almost seems that she's not relevant. And it's like, she's a party member. Like, you play Persona, and a lot of people like kind of gave crap on Haru because you get her so late in the game, but at least she has like a relevance to the plot and matters. Unlike Yuffie, that just, she joins your party so early in the game in Rebirth, but means so little in the grand scheme of things. It really, like, this is a thing I would expect if you get Yuffie like at the end of the game, but you get her early. And you know, you see that other guy, the vampire guy, Vincent, I think that's his name. And there's more going on with him than Yuffie, but it's like, even with him, it's like, okay, but again, you meet him like near the end of the game at that point. Like, you're like halfway through, so it's like, and he's not a party member. Like, he's not playable. He's just kind of there. So it's like, okay, like, whatever. So it just seems like Yuffie, they just did her really dirty in this. And I was really, really let down with that. And that's the problem I have with the story. It just seems like a lot of ideas that I was interested in never went anywhere. And that's painful with Zack. I was so interested to see with Zack. And as much as I was kind of like, oh, it's multiverse shit. Okay, but maybe they're gonna do something cool with this. I don't know, but like, maybe it's not. Hopefully it's not, but it looks like it is, and it was, and I was like, okay. All of the Zack parts, I don't get why they were gameplay. All he did with Zack was walk. They're all walking segments. I feel like if you're doing that, just make it a cutscene. Like, you know, to compare to the Aerith flashback where you play as a child trying to find a doctor, that at least had an emotional weight to it. So it's like, okay, like, you know, they want you to, you know, to be in her shoes, literally, and that's fine. Even though, you know, I tweeted like I beat FF7 Rebirth on Twitter, and then someone replied like, yeah, you cried during the Aerith part, right? Yeah, the train part, right? But I was like, well, I saw this, like, they told me this in Remake. So, all of the emotional impact it had, in my opinion, affected me in Remake. This, I was just like, oh, this is the part. The only part of that scene that got me was kind of like Aerith as an adult reacting to seeing her mom and all that kind of stuff. That kind of got me, but it's like, all the emotional pull was in Remake, so that kind of was like, whatever. But that at least I understood. But the Zack stuff, it's like this could have just been cutscene. Like, do we really need to walk around like to say, dude, you get to play as Zack? It's like but you're walking, and then at the end of the game, it's like now you get to fight as Zack. It's like why why not do this in the beginning? Like because it teaches you his mechanics. I'm at the final boss. I'm sorry, I'm probably not gonna give a fuck about his mechanics. Like, I understand. Oh, you hold triangle to charge up his attack. To level 2, level 3, whatever, and that's it. I didn't care about his other abilities. It was like, okay, that's it. And it's like, man, maybe if they let you do the combat with him early, it would be more engaging instead of dumping a new character so late in the game that has vastly different game plan than Cloud. Like Cloud, you could just kind of mash and interject abilities in between. It just feels like with Zack, you couldn't do that. He has a different flow to him, and it's like, and I feel like someone's gonna comment saying, "Well, you should play Crisis Core. He's in it," and it's like, but this is Rebirth. Like, this is a character you're playing in this game. Like, it's not like they didn't give you a tutorial for him. Like, and then they just gave you the character. They gave you the tutorial for a reason, but why not have you play him early on instead of these long drawn out walking segments where all of the interesting stuff gets interrupted by going back to the main plot line? And it's like this is really aggravating to be ping ponged like this. Like, all right, he's gonna meet Biggs. Oh shit. Okay. All right, hi Biggs. Okay, Cloud is on the toilet. Let's check it on Cloud. What? And it was just stuff that I wanted to see more of. Then there's a part where like Marlene is telling Zack, "Oh, Aerith is gonna get killed by Long Hair Man," and then they show you a flashback of like this of a cutscene in remake, and it's like, wait, is that this Marlene that Marlene, or like what is Marlene at this point? How does Marlene know this? Like I don't get it. Like, did she have a PS1 and she was playing Final Fantasy 7? I don't know. Like it was like Aerith, to a degree in remake, Aerith was going on and on about like very like weird stuff, which I thought was kind of weird in remake as well. But it's like, okay, I can at least understand that. But Marlene is just a girl. Was there more to Marlene that I just didn't know? Like, was Marlene's mom like some secret god and I just never knew? Like, it was just weird stuff like that. And it's like, so the Zack stuff was just kind of like, it was interesting but frustrating in the sense of like it kept breadcrumbing me, and by the end it felt like it went nowhere. To the fact that it doubled down on, this is a multiverse, this is a different universe from what Cloud is in, and it's like, okay. And then like Aerith, like this cutscene. I want to talk about this cutscene actually. Sorry, this is very disjointed. Whatever. But there's just a lot of things. The more I'm talking, the more stuff I'm like firing off. This one cutscene has got to be the dumbest cutscene I have ever seen. Like I don't know. I don't know the point of what they were doing with this. So Cloud sneaks off with the black materia outside the temple after Aerith saying, "This is a fake one." She tells that to everyone, by the way, so everyone thinks, okay, this is not the real black materia. This is garbage materia, whatever. So Barrett catches him having that materia, grabs it out of his hands, and like, oh, this is fucking stupid. You care about this? Throws it away, and I'm just saying, like, the whole game, they're telling everyone in this game, the black materia is dangerous. Sephiroth wants the black materia. He wants it so bad. And Aerith decided to say, this is a fake materia, probably in hopes to dissuade everyone from taking it and wanting to leave it in the temple and all this other stuff. But he takes it out, And then everyone's just tossing around. I'm just like thinking, why why not say, hey, let's keep the black material? And like, I don't know, like she could been honest and saying, look, we should try to keep the material here. If this is gonna be stuck here, what's more safe than it staying there? Whatever. But that's fine. Whatever, okay. But then Barrett throws it. I'm like, what? Why? Like, you see Cloud is acting very weird about it, and you're just like, who cares? And then you also see Aerith, like, distressed about it, so it's like, what? And then Sephiroth picks it up. He picks it up. And he's like, oh, look at this. I got it, man. And then, like, he throws it, and then Cloud picks up, he's like, bring it to me, Cloud. It's like, huh? And then, like, I feel like Aerith then picks it up, and then it's like, go get it for me. Cloud's like, Sephiroth, my guy, you had it. You had it. Now, sure, you could argue, well, that could have been a hallucination, Sephiroth, so maybe he didn't grab it. But it's just weird. It was such a weird, like, chain of events that happened. And then and that was just bizarre. Like, the whole sequence just seemed very lazy to get to the point where Aerith was on the edge with it, and then they both fall over and all this kind of stuff. It just seemed weird just to end with Sephiroth getting it. Did he even get it? I think he did. No, he didn't. I lied. I'm an idiot. Cloud still has it because of the at the end he was like looking at it and put it inside his Buster Sword. Okay, so he did have it. It was just a weird chain of events. That was just bizarre, and it's like I don't know. This seemed very, very goofy. Like, it was to the point where it went from like, oh shit to me just laughing. I was like, I can't believe this is what we're seeing. Like, what is this? And then they fall into the other dimension or what, the other universe, and she's like, oh, this is like a dream. Think of it like a dream. Don't look up. And I was like, so wait, does Aerith just come in and out of this world when she wants? Like, what is this? Like, so, like I feel like a lot of this stuff. I know it's kind of the same with remake, where you go to this weird weird area, and it's like, where are we? What is this? Like, if they said this is another universe, okay, I understand it. But Era saying, "Oh, this is a dream," like, I guess to me, like, you can interpret that as just her trying to explain what he's saying. Like, it's another dimension, but like, maybe Cloud wouldn't believe it, so he's like, "Oh, just think of this as a dream. Look at this. This is a possibility or whatever." And I also even feel like at that point, it wasn't well explained because it got to a point where Cloud was telling her, "Tell me what this is. You're not telling me something," and I think she did say like, "Oh, this is like, the end or whatever the fuck." And it's like, oh, okay. Like, I kind of I don't know. I just wish there was something more to it. And then and I just felt like all this was doing was baiting you into like, so you see Zack? He's in that world with Zack. What if he runs into him? He's gonna run into him. He's gonna be like, whoa, cool. No, that doesn't happen. So they're like, okay, we gotta go. I gotta take. It ends. I think it ends with Aerith telling Cloud, "I gotta beat Sephiroth and all this stuff. I'm gonna do it." And then it transitions from that to a forest, and it's like, I don't like. They try to catch you, like, oh, we took you here. You collapsed and we carried you here because Aerith said that that she has to do this or whatever. And it's like, okay, but I kind of wish it was a little. I wish we saw a little bit more. Like, maybe they should have shown what was through the perspective of Barrett at that point. Like, just switch to that, and you see like Cloud just standing still, like looking into the clouds or whatever the fuck, and then it's like, okay, we gotta carry him to where Earth wants to go or whatever. But instead, we just do this weird thing, and then they're there, and it's like, wait, what? Like, it just felt very like it felt like that. You're just getting one half of that story, so this is really bizarre. And then you get to you see where Earth is, and It's the iconic scene where Aerith dies, or does she? But she dies, and I know a lot of people who played remake was like, oh no, they're gonna like just not do it. They're gonna like say we got it. She's gonna survive. But no, they went through with it, and that's fine. I don't think I think that's fine. They'll keep that, but I don't know how it was in the original when she died and what happened afterwards. But in the remake, in Rebirth, it felt very unceremonious that she died. Like they just kind of killed her, and then they just kind of flashed other possibilities of Aerith dying or not dying or whatever the fuck, and it was just like. It, I just sat there and I was like, and this is the first time I saw this scene. I was like, uh huh, okay. And some people could argue, well, that's because you knew that she dies. But that's the one thing everyone knew going into Final Fantasy VII period was that Aerith dies. But it's like, you know, what was it? What's an example? Because there was something that was spoiled to me, and I still kind of felt the emotional weight to. But I can't think of it now. I want to say, I want to say SMT3, but I don't think that was spoiled to me. Uh, oh, I know there was something in the back of my mind. And, I mean, I guess you could say Persona 5 because I knew Igor was fake, but you know, when I first, you know, saw that spoiler, I was like, I don't know what Igor is. What's an Igor? So I was like, I don't know, but I feel like there was something that was spoiled to me, and I was like, but it was just like she dies, and then it's like, all right, big boss fight, and it just loud shit. And I was like, I feel in the original, they have you sit there, seeing her die and being dead, and then it's like, we're gonna fuck Sephiroth up for this, like whatever, like. I feel like that there was probably more of an emotional weight and like pacing to it. This just seemed like, bam, we killed her, and now you gotta fight a giant demon monster Genova, and then like, and it's just, man, you don't, because you don't get the emotional weight until you beat the game, and it's like, and then but when that happens, you still see like Ghost Aerith, like I'm gonna see you off, and it's like. It just seemed so like just I don't want to say cold, but it just didn't seem like it was that interested in making you just sit there feeling whatever. And then like when Cloud tries to join in, he's by himself with Aerith's dead body, and it's like, what is this? Like, is this another universe Aerith? Like, what? Are we gonna see her in the third game? I guess. Like, I mean, maybe she's gonna be like, you know, like in Batman Arkham Knight, where Batman just kept visualizing the Joker hanging around him. Is that what's gonna be Aerith to Cloud just hanging around? Like, Aerith gonna do some crazy shit, and Aerith's like, oh wow, look at that. Like, it was just weird, and it's like, okay, why? Like, it was just, I don't know. Like, and the only character that I kind of felt very sad about it was everyone, almost except for Cloud. And I guess, you know, maybe Cloud, because like Cloud has a different like relationship with her, I guess, in that point. But yeah, I just was like, man, they just kind of killed her, and there's like no weight to it. Like, and I don't even think it read well either. Like, Sephiroth shows up, you deflect his sword. But then, like, the Kira pans down to his sword. I'm like, okay, his sword's gonna be covered in blood. No, but then you see, like it was just, the way it showed it was just weird. And then like you go straight into a boss fight. It's like, why are we just kind of not letting the scene breathe? Like, it just seemed no breath between her death. Like, it doesn't have to be like a fanfare where they're playing this loud music or whatever, but it just seemed like everything was going on, and then like they're back there at the body. It's like, so, and then, which also makes me wonder, where did all this take place in this fight scene? It's like, what is this? Like, what's going on? And it's like, and it's the same shit with remake where you're just right about to enter to fight Sephiroth. It's like, wait, so you're on the highway, then you're going to this, then you're in this other weird area, like the little pocket dimension. But it's like, what is this? Like, are we just not gonna explain it? Like, and I know Ava does that too, especially, but like in the show at least, it's like, okay, this is like instrumentality going on, so you're like kind of melding to one one consciousness. Okay, I can at least kind of understand what's shown to me in the rebuilds. It's like, okay, they're in this like little other dimension that is there. They at least tell me this is another dimension. You're there. This is like they just go there and it's like, and they're just like, oh, this is normal. It's like I don't what is this? I'm really confused. And it's just I don't want to say it's sloppy, but it kind of is. It's kind of noisy. Like in Rebuild 3.1 or 3+1. Oh my god, 3+1, whatever. I had this one criticism. Just before this stuff I really liked about that movie. There's all this like fight stuff where the Wonder is fighting other like ships from Nerve or Steely, whatever the fuck. They fight that. They fight, and then like you have the Ava's trying to get to Unit 13. So that's going on, and it's like this is a very noisy scene. That's just kind of like just stuff like just doing this at you, like, oh my god, look at this, all this stuff's going on. Then you get to the good stuff where it's like, okay, now we see Gendo. Now we're gonna like breathe a little bit, and that's kind of what it felt like after Aerith's death. It just seemed like just look at this, oh my god, oh, all this stuff, and then it's like, okay, now we can breathe a little bit. It's like, oh my god, holy shit. So I think overall the story is okay. I just kind of felt like that the ending just didn't have any punch to it. It just seemed like it was just a lot of noise. And I even felt that way about Remake. By the end, it was just like a lot of stuff, and then like, okay, we gotta get to Calm or whatever. It's like, okay, we're going to Calm. And then here it's like, we gotta go north. Okay, cool. But it's like, the stuff in between, it just kind of comes and then goes, and then that's it. It's just odd. And then with Zack, I don't know what we're gonna do with him. Like, is he done? I guess I'm assuming he's not. I'm just gonna assume we're gonna see Zack again in the third game. Maybe in a different capacity, maybe a better capacity. But even that part was just kind of lame. It just kind of felt like that. Yeah, we have Zack. Zack's here, and now you fight with him, and now he's back in his dimension. Okay, like we're not like. I hope we do something cool with it. Like, maybe. I think I got spoiled on this, so whatever. In the original, isn't that like Cloud thinks he's Zack or something, like he has Zack's personality in him, like whatever. So that's why Cloud acts weirdly throughout the whole game, and in the end he's different as well because of that. And it's like, and I'm just thinking, are they gonna do something with that? Like, maybe there's gonna be something to that, and that'll be interesting. But it's like, again, what I don't like about this as well, and I just kind of like leave thing, like I'm fine with like people like theorizing and guessing. So this is gonna sound like very, very weird. I'm kind of annoyed that it kind of feels like this game purposely created so many questions just for the intention of you theorizing stuff. So then when the next game comes out, you get to see if you're right or wrong. And it makes me just wonder, how much did the fan reaction of Remake influence Rebirth? Like Remake came out and it got a very like strong polarizing reaction to it, where people were like, this is not what I wanted and this sucks and all this stuff. You either like despise what they did to the story, or was like not, or just didn't like it, or you were like, okay, whatever. And I feel like that with this, they did kind of. It felt like that they reacted to what was said about remake in some ways, because a lot of the people I heard talk about this was like, "Whoa, they're following the original pretty closely in this, huh?" And the only criticism I was hearing for a while was that the only thing that they muddled, say except for the ending or whatever, that they would bring up was just showing Sephiroth do stuff like the serpent that you fight. In the original, you leave and then you come back and you see that the serpent is like skewered, and it's like, did Sephiroth do this? Like whatever, and it's like, holy shit. This you see Sephiroth do it, so it's like, and I do think that it's kind of lame. I feel like a lot of that is a product of the mentality of, oh, they did this because they couldn't handle it on the PS, because the PS1 couldn't handle seeing one dude like flip a giant serpent onto this, so of course they didn't show it. And it's like, but you know even if that was true, there's also an impact of just not seeing it. I remember in an interview with Kojima, he was talking about MGS2. Was part of the reason why they wanted to switch the player to play Raiden was that you do feel more of the legendary aspect of Snake by him just doing whatever. You don't see him, so you have more of an impression of him, and I kind of get that as well. I mean, you could do a lot of interesting stuff with that. So I do think that a lot of the subtlety that Final Fantasy 7 was like known for is kind of like just thrown out, and it kind of goes into this. It's funny. You could kind of also compare that mentality with like all these adaptations, especially with anime. Like you look at an anime, and then someone does a live action adaptation, and that's kind of in the mindset of, yeah, they drew it because we couldn't do it in real life, but now we can. So look at this, and it's like, yeah, but anime and animation in of itself is an art form, and you could do interesting stuff with that. You don't need to make it live action to make it valid or whatever. And I feel you could say that with what they did with remake, and it's like, so I get that aspect of it as well. Uh, that they just kind of like just shown all this stuff, and I think that's just a problem. I think the problem with this is it's trying to I wouldn't say reinvent the wheel, but it just kind of seemed like it misunderstood the shortcomings, or just the what Seven was setting out to do, and then it just was like, we're gonna do something very cool. And I think it wanted to, and it also just wanted to please original fans and then lure in new fans, but original fans were gonna buy it anyway. Like, I got Persona 3 Reload, and it wasn't like they better do something new with this. They should change the story or whatever. But it's like, no, Persona 3 was fine as it is. Just give me that, and do some other stuff to it. And they did some nice stuff to it, which is why I think, like, out of all the versions of Persona 3, Reload is the closest to the definitive experience to FES that I could think of. But it's all shortcomings. That's another video for another time. And that's what I feel with Rebirth is it was stuck in, we need to make it a new experience for old fans, and then a cool experience for new fans. And I just kind of, I said that about Sephiroth in the original. It's like, what is he like? I feel like it works better in the original, because I feel like that all of this hype behind Sephiroth that came out, you know, over the years, they try to get that cashed in the remake, where it's like, yeah, he's cool. Look at him. Sephiroth is doing some cool shit. Whoa! And it's like, is it just seems kind of like lame. It's like, like, it's kind of the reaction you get when someone does a Chuck Norris joke. It's like, okay, okay, and you just kind of like move on. Uh, And Sephiroth just doesn't seem that menacing. Like they keep saying Sephiroth is such a madman. Like, and the Nibelheim does that very well, and all this other stuff. But other than that, every time he shows up, it's just kind of like I was like, okay, yeah, get the blood material, okay. And I don't know. I feel like that the I because the other thing I was expecting a little bit more. Uh, he brought up Genova in the remake. I gotta get Genova. He gets Genova. Okay, great. In Rebirth, it's like now you see what he did in Nibelheim. Oh shit, fucking crazy. And then it's like, okay, let's let's do something else. Let's do something more, like not more, but something to like really show that this dude is like evil. I just don't think that he did. The other thing I didn't like was the robed man kind of stuff. I thought that was really goofy. Like when Roach, whatever the fuck, the Pompadour man, when he became a robed man, I kind of laughed because it was like he was in a soldier's uniform, and then all the robed men huddled around him, and then the robe just appeared, and I wasn't really thinking of anything else other than where does these robes come from? What are these robes? Are these robes like I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of people were just like, Theo, no one cares. No one cares about the robes. You know, you're thinking too much about it. But the fact that it just kind of happens in a weird, very like weird way that just doesn't seem natural. It's like so are the robes like what are these things? Like I just kept thinking about it, and it's like, oh, it's Mako posing. So Mako posing just generates robes. Like I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, materia or Mako is part of materia, I guess, and that's magical shit. So maybe it's just thing, whatever. Uh, but then you saw on the cruise ship, like, okay, the monster's confused with the robed men, and it's like, okay, like, are we gonna do something with this? No. And I was also kind of surprised. I thought we were gonna see more enemy types like that, but we never do. And it's not that the enemy variety was lacking or anything like that. I'm not gonna say that, but it's like I was really sure we're gonna see Hojo do some like, oh, let's do some crazy monsters with the Maku got with the roadmen and the monsters. Let's do some shit with that, and it never did. It never happened. So yeah, man, this is a long video. I think I should wrap it up. I think I should wrap this video up. My overall thoughts on Rebirth, it's better than Remake. I do think it's a massive improvement from that, gameplay wise. Story, it's kind of like it meanders. It doesn't have the same padding issues that Remake did, because Remake just had awful padding. The worst padding was just the Red 13's Trials. But even with that, it's like, oh, okay, like, at least I understood why you did all that stuff. So that was whatever. But it still kind of meandered by the end, where by the second time I made it to the gold saucer, I was like, okay, I just want to finish this. Let's just get on with it. And then I saw the ending, and it's like, okay. So whatever. I'm probably gonna get the third one, because again, if you tell me that you have a plan and it's gonna end, I'll be there. I was there for Westworld, for better or worse, because they said they planned for 5 seasons and it was gonna end on the 5th. I was there for it. And HBO canceled it because they were too scared to commit to just seeing how it ended. I was very curious, and then it just didn't go anywhere. So I will see how this ends. Especially since I put this much time. But man, I don't want to fight Rufus. Fuck Rufus. I'm just gonna I hate him. I hate Rufus. The whole game was fun without him. And hopefully I don't have to play as only Kate Sith in the third one. I do think it's overall what I recommend Rebirth. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think so, because the thing is a little more, at least because the remake, I feel like it focused too much on look at what's different, and you're like, huh? I don't know if you've never played it. Rebirth, I feel, if you never played the original, you can at least kind of follow along and kind of be invested in what's going on. So at least it's kind of like interesting and all this other shit. So whatever. Uh, yeah. So I would recommend Rebirth over remake. The music is also good. I like the music a lot in this one. So that's good. But yeah. Rebirth is solid. I didn't hate it as much. I thought I would. There was a few parts where I was like, I don't know about this one, man. Like the beginning kind of was like, I don't know. But then I kind of stuck with it, and I ended up liking it by the end, kind of. The Gold Saucer was fun. I liked some of the mini games more than I thought I would. I like the Chocobo Kart stuff. That was fun. But yeah, it was better. You know what? I should bring this up. Fuck the quick time event shit. I I don't like them. I think the design is a little too over complicated or something. It was this weird because I never knew the correct timing. I kind of got the gist, but it was just like, man, I don't know. Uh, the when you're like a soldier doing like the little dance, whatever. That was like, okay, so I guess I have to time it when the thing hits it, but it would just, I don't know, it just seemed weird. And then the stage play you did, it was whatever. I'm just not a big fan of the quick time events that this game did. Not that they were awful, but or the worst, I should say. Either they weren't the worst, but I didn't like them. Just whatever. Other than that, the piano sucked too. Fuck the piano. The piano. I saw so many designers on Twitter saying it's just an awfully designed mechanic. Like it is not designed very well. I was like, oh yeah, I can see it because it seemed like they wanted the piano to actually be a playable piano, but you're a game and you can't do that. You need to make a piano accessory. Okay, just do that. Other than that, it's whatever. Solid game. If you were to put a gun at me and say give it a score, Theo, I would give it a good, happy 8 out of 10. I don't remember what I gave remake, but it's definitely better than remake for sure. In a lot of ways. It's solid. I ended up liking it more than I thought I would, and the story is weak in some cases, but it's serviceable. I really can't get over like all these ideas. I was like, I want to know more, and it's like, oh, we're not going back to that. But what about Tifa and Cloud? He wasn't there, or was he? Let's not talk about that. Like, you know what? I want to double back on that a little bit. I want to double back on Tifa and Cloud a little bit. I want to say one more thing about it. They do the thing with Tifa, but it's like it seemed obvious that Aerith had made more sense. But like Tifa, it was just like she got sold up into the whale, and she saw all this other possibilities. She saw all the whispers. It's like, what are we gonna do with this? She has a different recollection of what happened at the plant. She saw all these other possibilities at the same time, and then she gets out and she's like, I don't want to talk about it. Cloud, I don't want to talk about the power plant. I know there's stuff that happened, but we're not discussing that anymore. And it's like, why? Like, so that drove me up the wall. Specifically, there's all this stuff. Several says, don't trust Tifa. Why single out Tifa in the beginning of the game to only kill Aerith? I can't. There was a point where I was playing this game and I was like, oh, they're gonna kill Tifa this time. Maybe that's what they're gonna do. Like, you think it's gonna be Aerith, but they're gonna kill Tifa because that's why they're like, don't trust her. And Cloud thought she died, and then she didn't die. Like, I was like, is that gonna be the twist? No. Aerith ends up dying anyway, and they don't do anything with Tifa. It just seems very weird. Like, because I remember even hearing it. Get this. Even from DSP, who said that in Remake, they also mentioned something weird about Tifa, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And they do it again in this, and it goes nowhere again. So they're going to have to go somewhere with it in the third one. Because the other thing is, oh, man, I almost forgot about this one with Zack. So Tifa tells Aerith about Zack. We don't hear the conversation. And then she tells Cloud, I didn't tell her. Why? What was so unique about that fight, about the conversation that Tifa decided I'm not gonna tell Cloud what I told her and what she said. Like, what was so important? And I don't, and I'm and I just that shit should be explained in Rebirth. It should be like, especially the fact that we go to we see that universe with Aerith at the end of the game, and like we don't know the significance of of them saying Zack died at the power plant. Like, why is that not privy information in this game? Like, it would make sense to include it because it ties in. So I have to hope that they remember this in the third game and they explain it, because I have a feeling, or a fear, it's more of a fear than a feeling, that they're just not gonna talk about it and they're gonna forget about this. This will be left in the wayside. I hope that's not the case, but it's just, why not just show it? Why not talk about it in the game where it's relevant? We're seeing the Zack flashbacks. We told Aerith Zack dies, and then at the very end, we go to that universe. At that point, we see Zack, and Zack tells Cloud, "Save her," and then that's it. We don't get any clarification about Aerith and Zack in that universe that we're in, that the game is in. We get nothing. Cloud remembering it was a big deal, but we don't tell Cloud how Aerith reacted to the news of this or anything. And even as the player, we're not even shown this. Like, did Aerith say, "Oh shit, Zack didn't die, it was Sephiroth the whole time"? I don't know. Like, what is it? Like, did maybe what they're gonna say is Zack becomes Sephiroth? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Like, it's so bizarre. They show all this, and then it's like, let's not show the player. So that I did not like about this game. It was just a lot of stuff that they showed you that I feel would be more relevant to wrap up or explain in this game, didn't. So this game didn't answer anything. And I understand, yeah, there's a third game, but that doesn't mean that you have to make more questions. Like, answer something, start answering them now so you have the more interesting stuff in the third game. I don't know. Like, it just doesn't seem that it expanded or anything with anything at all. It just was like, oh, okay. Like, then you see this other random robed man, who is Glenn, and they keep flashing him back with like Rufus's dad. I'm like, okay, you know what? Watch, this dude is like a younger version of Rufus's dad that changed timelines or whatever the fuck. I bet that's what it is. This guy, man. So I have a feeling that's what it is. I feel it's something like that. But whatever. So that's it. Yeah, 8 out of 10. It's a solid game. The story just, it's good enough, but it just has little things that just kind of made me just like scratch my head and get a little bit more frustrated in it, I guess. It just seemed more of a theory bait than, oh, yeah, isn't this cool? I don't know, like, whatever. That is it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Tifa's the GOAT.